grandmaster.net, and I'm going to be looking at a game from the 2006 Aeroflot Open in Moscow, Russia, between Tigran Petrosian with the white pieces playing Pavel Smirnov. And this is not the world champion Tigran Petrosian, just to avoid any confusion. So starting with e4, and the move order by black with a6 here is going to suggest the Najdorf, and bishop e3 could suggest the English attack. Now usually bishop e3 can sometimes be countered by knight g4, and Alexander Grishchuk and Hikaru Nakamura really popularized this line at the top level. Black plays extremely dynamically. It's definitely an interesting line. But anyway, bishop e3, and so Smirnov just responds with e6. So now it's kind of like a Shevenigan, maybe a variation of the Najdorf, Shevenigan, something like that. a4 here to prevent b5, and bishop e2. So why I thought it was just kind of weird, bishop e3 earlier, because usually if players are going to play the bishop e2 line like this, they play that first to avoid any knight g4. Anyway, maybe he was trying to mess with him with the move order. So here, it's just a very equal position. Black is looking to play dynamically in the center, maybe e5 or d5. And white is trying to play for a kingside attack. So he's trying to stop black's counterplay in the center. So king h1, always a useful move just to get the king off of the a7 g1 diagonal. So now after rook e8, Petrosian, a5. I mean, I like the idea, I really do. So it's just based on the fact that white wants to bust open in the center. And maybe he was also thinking about following up with knight takes e6, for example, or even knight b3. Also, by playing a5, he opens up his rook to the fourth rank. In some lines, it comes to c4. So Smirnov accepts the sack, and here is Petrosian's idea. He's going to get a lot of pressure in the center along the f file specifically, and he's also opened up the b1 h7 diagonal for his bishop to attack. So now black kind of has to take it. I mean, if he moves the knight, you know, where's he going to move a knight here or something? It's just not good. I mean, quite frankly, I mean, it's just not. You know, black is like nothing here in this position. So got to take the pawn. So now white sacked 2 pawns, as a matter of fact, but he's opened up the entire center for his pieces. So now knight a4, a nice move, kicking the queen. The black queen is almost trapped even. So kicking it all the way back to a7 was Petrosian's idea. And now bishop e3. So here's the point. Black's queen is stuck in the corner, and if he plays queen b8, he's going to drop an exchange to knight b6. And his queen is going to be way out of the game. So that's Petrosian's idea. Maybe b6 was a possibility, but that is just such a hideous move that I can understand why he didn't want to play. I mean, I don't even know if it works tactically. Maybe just knight takes b6. I mean, this is the first thing I would consider. Anyway, you know, b6, just an ugly move to have to make. So instead, Smirnov plays actively with knight d5, kicking the bishop back, and b5 now. So, okay, so b5, black's queen is definitely exposed to some very nasty discover attacks from the bishop on g1, but black has 2 pawns. He's got 2 pawns, so he can sack a pawn or 2 and be fine. Petrosian starts with bishop d3. Not the easiest move in the world to see in the beginning because the knight on a4 is kind of hanging. But, you know, if black takes it, there's a variety of ways white can win here, but let's just look at the most basic. Throw a check, and he picks up the rook on e8. So easy enough. I mean, I'm sold. So instead of allowing that, Smirnov didn't take the piece, and he played bishop f6. So he's got the queen is defending laterally, and bishop f6 actually, you know, putting a little threat on the knight on d4 or whatever. So knight takes b5, and he's not trying to cash in so much for the pawns. The knight had to move somewhere, and rerouting it to c3 seems to be the easiest because it's also challenging black's very strong knight on d5. So bishop to d8, kind of a weirdo move, but the reason is pretty simple. The knight on a5 is loose. Many variations, knight to b6 will win an exchange. And bishop d8 protects both of those things by seizing the diagonal. So knight to c5. The problem is the bishop is just undeveloped, and it's leaving black's king side very open. So queen c7. So, you know, black has only got one extra pawn now, and his pieces are a mess. He has no coordination, and whites are starting to crash through. So white starts, knight takes d5, crashing through, just breaking up, you know, black's pawn structure, and also the knight on d5 is a very strong piece. So now rook takes a5. Finally, Petrosian decides to sack the exchange to deflect black's queen away from the defense of f7. And now just a couple more sacrifices. It wasn't possible to take the bishop. The reason we just looked at a variation very similar. Queen h5 takes and picking up the rook on e8. So instead, black tries king f8, his only shot. Queen takes d5, natural move. Rook a7, good move, lateral defense. b4. This is, you know, the first moves that should come to mind when you're looking at tactics exercises or when you're playing a normal game, whatever. Moves like b4, because white needs to lure black's queen, and it's a little bit difficult to explain exactly why, because it's a pretty complicated position. So white wants to lure black's queen to b4, as we'll see in the game in just 1 second. So here, black has two moves, right? I mean, he can play queen takes b4, which he did in the game, or he can play queen b8. Queen b8 fails to knight d3. This is a monster move. This is, I mean, this is a killer. So white's still got huge pressure on f7. Black's king is stuck there. And let's say black tries bishop e6. The idea is now check. If rook takes, simply queen takes, e6 is possible. And if bishop e7, at first I looked at this and I thought, okay, white takes, black takes, is black okay? But then I was like, wait a second, knight e5. And this is a murderous move. This is totally bonkers. And that's game over. So anyway, I mean, what an interesting position due to the threat of knight g6. And also bringing some more pressure against f7. So going back, that's why black didn't play queen b8. So his only other option, queen takes b4. And this is what white wanted. Queen d6 check. And now the reason why white wanted to lure black's queen to b4 is that queen d6 check, black can no longer block with the rook because of knight d7 check. White wins the queen. He's got a queen for a rook. Black's king is destroyed, and it's an easy win. So trying to set up the black queen for a discover check or discover attack on b4. So the only option for black, bishop e7. Maybe he's getting out of it. Not quite. Rook takes f7. White lured the bishop to e7 to block the defense of the rook on a7. And so after takes... And here, Smirnov, he had enough. He resigned because it's mate in two, however you look at it. King to f8, queen g8 is mate. You know, whatever. I mean, king f6, bishop d4 is going to be mate. So really a fantastic game by Petrosian. I mean, just excellent bit of preparation with that e5. Well, starting with a5, then sacking the pawn with e5, and after that, black really couldn't recover. So a very sharp piece of opening prep by Petrosian. So this is Will Stewart from OnlineChessLessons.net, and thanks for tuning in.